morning, dear students. Good morning to all of you, Arpita, Akanksha, then Mridula, Neeraj, Arya, Krutika, Vinita, Anj, Sania, Manasvi, Anushka, Akanksha, Madhu, Sanika, Tanvi. All of you, a very warm good morning. Sarang, Sahil, good morning to all of you. So, today we are going to wind up our lesson called We Are Not Afraid to Die If We Are All Be Together. Okay, so if we are all together. So, dear students, as you can see, they have reached in the middle of the sea where it's difficult for them to come back. So it's such a scary situation because the water is gushing inside the ship. They were trying to pump out the water through electric machine, pump machine, but pump machine has also given up. So they are all after pumping out. Besides pumping out, they do not have any option. They do not have any kind of way out to sort of come out of this situation because it's such a scary, precarious situation. So let's see what happens by the morning on January 3rd. Okay, so by morning on January 3rd, the pumps had the water level sufficiently under control for us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. Okay, so the pumps, with the help of electric pumps, they could sufficiently, they could take, or you can say, they could empty the ship. Okay, uh, to a great extent. So they have brought the situation under control with the help of electric pumps. Most of the water, has been taken out. So now situation is under control, so they can take 2 hours rest in rotation. So they can take 2 hours rest in rotation. But we still had a tremendous leak somewhere below the waterline. Okay, still they had some leak below the waterline, and on checking, I found that nearly all the boat's main reef frames were smashed down to the keel. In fact, there was nothing holding up a whole section of the starboard hull except a few uh, cupboard partitions. Okay, we had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit, but wave walker would not hold together long enough for us to reach Australia. So they cannot reach Australia. So they've got to get down before they reach Australia because wave walker cannot hold together long enough, right? Because water, even though they have pumped out water, but still water will be coming inside because there are a lot of holes. Okay, everywhere, everything. I mean, the starboard side is damaged, so that is why it's difficult for them to travel a long distance. Therefore, they will be looking for an island nearby so that they can come out of the ship and rescue themselves. Let's find out. I checked our charts and calculated that there were two small islands a few hundred kilometers to the east. So after a few hundred kilometers, there were two small islands. Okay, two small islands were there. Two small islands were there after a few hundred kilometers to the east. One of them, Isle Amsterdam. One of the islands is called Isle Amsterdam, was a French scientific base. Our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. Pinpricks means you can say shelter, okay, shelter in the vast ocean. But unless the wind and seas abated so we could hoist sail, our chances would be slim indeed. The great wave had put our auxiliary engine out of action. So they had an auxiliary or additional engine that has also become that has also gone out of order, right? So that is what is said here. The great wave had put our auxiliary engine out of action, right? So until and unless the wind stops blowing, it is difficult. They cannot waste their sail. Okay, so they are waiting for the weather to change. Let's see. On January 4, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, see, 36 hours of continuous pumping, that is something which is really really tiring, really, because if they stop pumping, in that case again it will be difficult, because like the water will sink the ship, right? That is why we reached the last few centimeters of water. Now we had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. Okay, so whatever was already there inside the ship, that was almost pumped out. Now they had to take care of the water that was sipping inside. Okay, that was sipping inside. We could not set any sail on the main mast because of wind and all that. Pressure on the rigging would simply pull the damaged section. So why they cannot set any sail? Because the pressure of the sail would certainly damage the hull part. Okay, so we wasted the storm jeep and headed for where I thought the two islands were. Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuits, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. Okay, so after almost 2 days, they had their first meal. They did not have time enough to even eat food, but our respite was short lived. Their respite means their respite means what? Relief, you can say. Okay, the relief was short lived. It was very much. It lasted for a short time only, right? Their relief lasted for a short time only. So their respite was for a short period of time only, right? So let's find out what happened? At 4 p.m., black clouds began building up behind us. Again at 4 p.m., what happened? Black clouds began building up behind them. Within the hour, the wind was back to 40 knots and the seas were getting higher. The weather continued to deteriorate throughout the night, and by dawn on January 5, our situation was again desperate. Again desperate. Okay, like 4 o'clock, at 4 o'clock the previous day, black clouds began to build behind them, right? Then within the hour, wind was also gathering speed, and then weather continued to deteriorate, means continued to worsen throughout the night, and then early morning on January 5, the situation became absolutely desperate. Now let's find out what happens. Now it's a die or do or die situation. Now do or die situation. The previous occasion somehow they managed to survive. Now let us see whether on this situation as well they are able to sort of tide over the crisis, or they buckle under pressure, they give up. Let's find out. When I went in to comfort the children, John asked, Daddy, are we going to die? I tried to assure him that we could make it. But, Daddy, he went on, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together, you and Mummy, then Sue and I. So, dear students, the title of the story is taken from the statement of John. Okay, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. The what the boy means to say is that his mom, his sister, and his father, if all they were all together, they do not, they are not scared of death. So this is a very bold statement on the part of this boy. Okay, it's a very very bold statement, which will certainly give some encouragement or courage to his father even. Right? I could find no words with which to respond, but I left the children's cabin determined to fight the sea with everything I had. So his son's words came as a great inspiration for the narrator, for the captain. So he again came back immediately from children's cabin. He came out and he was trying his level best to to come out of this situation. right, to come out of this situation. To protect the weakened starboard side, I decided to heave to with the undamaged port hull facing the oncoming waves using an improvised sea anchor of heavy nylon rope and two 22-liter plastic barrels of paraffin. That evening, Mary and I sat together holding hands as the motion of the ship brought more and more water in through the broken planks. We both felt the end was very near because more and more water was, uh, more and more water was uh, getting inside the ship. Okay, so that is why Mary and the narrator sat together holding hands as the motion of the ship brought more and more water through the broken planks. The planks of the ship have broken, so through the broken planks, a lot of water was seeping inside, gushing inside. We both felt the end was very near. But Wavewalker rode out of the storm, and by the morning of January 6th, with the wind easing, I tried to get a reading on the sextant. Okay, sextant means your weather room. Okay, back in the chart room, I worked on wind speeds, changes of course, drift, and current in an effort to calculate our position. Right. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere in 150,000 kilometers of ocean looking for a 65-kilometer wide island. So, dear students, as you can see here, when on the morning of January 6th, the situation improved with the winds easing. Wind easing means the wind is not very like furious. So what the narrator captain did, he tried to get a reading on the sextant of the weather condition, and then back in the chart room he went to see the map. Okay, and he also worked on wind speeds and all. He was calculating then drift and current in effort to calculate their position also. So he could determine, he could find out that they were somewhere 150,000 kilometers of ocean looking for a 65-kilometer wide island. Okay, so they are desperately now looking for an island to take shelter, because without an island, if they can successfully land on an island, in that case what will happen, they can at least their life will be saved. Okay, so that is why he has gone to the chart room to find out the location of the nearest island. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere 150,000 kilometers of ocean looking for a 65-kilometer wide island. So while I was thinking, Sue, moving painfully, joined me. So Sue came. The left side of her head was now very swollen, and her blackened eyes narrowed to slits. She gave me a card she had made. Then on the front, she had drawn caricatures. On the front, what happened? She had drawn caricatures. Okay, so she had made a card, and in the caricature of Mary and me with the words, "Here are some funny people. Did they make you laugh?" I laughed a lot as well. Inside was a message. Oh, how I love you both. So this card is to say thank you and let's hope for the best. Somehow we had to make it. Okay. So now this time it is the inspiration which came from the narrator's daughter. Okay. This time the inspiration came from narrator's daughter. She made a card of her parents, and then inside the card she had written how grateful they are for the good job that their parents are doing, and how Sue loves both her parents. Okay, so this message and the card will give further inspiration to Sue's father, that is the narrator. Okay, the captain of the ship, right? One of the captains of the ship. So let's find out after that what happens. I checked and rechecked my calculation. We had lost our main compass, and I was using a spare which had not been corrected for magnetic variation. So one of the compasses was lost. lost, and another spare he was making use of, but this spare magnet compass was also having some magnetic variation, might be because they haven't corrected it, they haven't adjusted the magnetic variation. I made an allowance for this and another estimate of the influence of the westerly currents which flow through this part of the Indian Ocean. So there might be another westerly currents, another wind, okay, another storm which he was trying to guess. About 2 p.m. what happened? I went on deck and asked Larry to steer a course of 85 degrees. About 2 p.m. what happened? I went on deck and asked Larry is another captain, to steer a course of 185 degrees. If we were lucky, I told him with a conviction I did not feel, he could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. So uh, the narrator, the captain, gave direction to Larry, another captain, to steer the ship at a angle of 185 degrees. And if they were lucky enough, then by 3 hours time, that is at 5 o'clock, they are supposed to go to an island or reach an island. Okay, so this is what he instructed to Larry, another captain. Okay, then with a heavy heart, I went below, climbed on my bunk, and amazingly dozed off. Then he just slept. Then he slept. When I woke up, it was 6 p.m. and growing dark. Right. I knew we must have missed the island, and with the sail we had left, we couldn't hope to beat back into the westerly winds. At that moment, a tousled head appeared by my bunk. Can I have a hug? Jonathan asked. Okay, so his son said, "Can I have a hug?" Sue was right behind him. "Why am I getting a hug now?" I asked. "Because you are the best daddy in the whole world and the best captain," my son replied. "Not today, John, I'm afraid." Okay, the father was very much apprehensive because he didn't know that they had almost reached an island, so he was not knowing about that. But his son came to hug him and inform him that probably they have reached an island. So let's find out now. "Not daily, John, I'm afraid." "Why? You must be." "Not today, John, I'm afraid." Okay, "Not today, I'm the best JD," because his father said, Jonathan's father, that is the narrator says, the captain says, "Not today, I am the best JD ever because I am still scared, I'm afraid, I'm sorry. Today, you cannot consider me the best JD." Then Jonathan replies, "Why? You must be. You must be the best JD," said Sue in a matter of fact voice. "You found the island." And then Sue broke the news to her father that "You found the island." "What?" I shouted. "It is out there in front of us." They chorused, means they said together, "You have found the island. It's just in front of us. You can see the island is in front of us, as big as a battleship." Okay, so there's a big, huge island in front of us, as big as a battleship. I rushed on deck and gazed with relief at the stark outline of Isle Amsterdam. Okay, Isle Amsterdam is one of the like two islands that the narrator said earlier, okay, informed us earlier. So they have reached that island, Isle Amsterdam. It was only a bleak piece of volcanic rock with little vegetation. The most beautiful island in the world. It was the most beautiful island in the world. Next, you see, we anchored offshore for the night. Okay, we anchored offshore for the night, and the next morning, all 28 inhabitants of the island cheered as they helped us ashore. So the 28 inhabitants of that island gave them company, welcomed them, okay, and helped them come ashore. Okay, ashore means help them to board onto the island soil. With land under my feet again, my thoughts were full of Larry and Harvey, cheerful and optimistic under the direst stress. Larry and Harvey, they were very expert in handling the turbulent sea, so they were also very much cheerful. Okay, and they appeared to be cheerful and optimistic under the direst stress. Direst means under acute stress also. Under acute stress also, Under serious stress, also, Larry and Harvey appeared to be cheerful and optimistic. And of Mary, who stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours, and also Mary appeared to be optimistic. Most of all, I thought of a 7-year-old girl who did not want us to worry about a head injury, which subsequently took 6 minor operations to remove a recurring blood clot between skin and skull. Okay, even though it's a very major head injury, but his daughter Sue was so caring in nature that she did not allow her parents to think that it's such a major issue. Okay, she just did not care about her injury, but it was a huge injury, very big injury, because subsequently it took 6 minor operations to remove a recurring blood clot between skin and skull, and of a 6-year-old boy who was not afraid to die. So he was grateful to everybody, his family members, his expert crews, his wife, everybody. He was very much grateful because they have cooperated him and helped him in the direst of situation, in the very acute situation, and eventually they have found the pinpricks in the vast ocean. Pinpricks means they found the shelter in the vast ocean when they landed eventually on Isle Amsterdam, where the 28 inhabitants of the island welcomed them. Okay, and this is how were they could rescue themselves. Right, they could rescue themselves from an impending disaster of a sinking ship. Okay, like you might have heard about Titanic, the way it was sunk, it was a disaster. So, with the help of expertise and experience of Larry and Harvey, and with the combined effort of all of them, of all the family members and the captains and everybody, they could somehow manage to rescue themselves. Okay, they were successful in avoiding an impending disaster. Okay, of a ship sinking. Right. So now they are safe in an island. So this is how they were safe eventually. So what lesson do you get, dear students? We get the lesson that under the acute crisis also, under the acute crisis also, we need to be absolutely optimistic. Okay, we should keep doing our work and not be bothered about what is happening. Right. So had they become very nervous and not done any work, they would have certainly sunk. Right, they would have certainly drowned. Right, but they kept their cool, kept pumping water out of the ship. Okay, then Harvin, Lady and Sigler, they both were very expert. They were doing their work. They did not leave the wheel, and they were all they did a concerted effort actually. Okay, concerted means group teamwork, right? So as a result of their concerted effort, as a result of their dedication, as a result of their optimism, and as a result of their calculation and accuracy, they could somehow manage to land themselves in an island called Isle Amsterdam. Okay, so dear students, let's see the questions from this lesson. So here you can see, list the steps taken by the captain to protect the ship when rough weather began, to check the flooding of the water in the ship, describe the mental condition of the voyagers on 4th and 5th January, then describe the ships in the narration of the events as indicated in the three sections of the text. Give a subtext into each section. Right. So, dear students, some of the vocabulary that I told you, I shall show you. So that I have to show you, dear students. Before that, let's see something else like on plus 11. we are not afraid to die. So here also you get story at a glance. So I've given here para wise. So you can go through this para wise. Just for revision, you can go through this, and then here you see I have written the NCERT questions and answers for you. To protect the ship when rough weather began, what did they do? The captain took the following steps. What are the following steps? He decided to lower the speed of the boat. The storm jib was dropped. Heavy ropes were tied across the stern. They went through their life raft drill. They put on wind skins and life jackets. Then what did they do to check the flooding of the water in the ship? He took the hammer, screw, and canvas and struggled to make repairs. He stretched the canvas and waterproof hatch covers across the gaping holes. Most of the water was now deflected over the sides. Spare hand pumps and an electric pump were put to work to pump out water. Okay, spare hand pump as well as electric pumps were used. Okay, hand pump as well as electric pumps were used to sort of pump out water. And then mental condition on January 4th, you have been asked to describe. On January 4th, there was some respite. Initially, as water level in the ship receded means it went down. They had to pump out water, still coming in with every wave. They had their first meal in 2 days. But in the evening, black clouds built up and waves rose higher and higher. On January 5th, the situation got worse, and the narrator and his family were pretty certain that they would die. The narrator's 7-year-old daughter Sue said that they were not afraid to die if they all would be together. Then these words strengthened the captain's resolve to fight the sea with the renewed hope. Right? Now, describe the ships in the narration. Like section 1, what is the uh, narration all about? It's about starting a voyage, right? Section 2 is surviving the struggles, and section 3 is restoration of hope. So three sections of the story you need to describe, right? And then here it is given, what difference did you notice between the reaction of the adults and the children when faced with danger? So this is a very important question. Okay, these two questions, this one as well as this one, these two are the very important question. So what are the differences in the reaction between the adults and children when faced with danger? So as you can see, dear students, the adults felt the stress of the circumstances but prepared themselves to face the dangers. They took sufficient precautions to protect the ship when the rough weather began. They equipped everyone with lifelines, waterproof clothes, and life jackets. Larry and Harv worked cheerfully and optimistically for 3 days continuously to pump out water from the ship. Mary replaced the narrator at the wheel when the deck was smashed and steered the ship. She also served them meal after 2 days of struggle against odds. The narrator performed his role as captain with courage, determination, resourcefulness, and full responsibility. He undertook repair work and provided apparatus and directions needed to protect the ship. He also helped in steering the ship towards the island, right? So this is the reaction of the elderly people. What happens to the children? How did they react? The children suffered silently and patiently. Sue had a big bump over her eyes. Sue's swelling got worse, and a deep cut on her arm was also prominent. Jonathan asked his father if they were going to die, but John said firmly that they are not afraid of dying if they are all together. Sue expressed her love for her parents with a care where she had written how much she loved them both. Her spirit strengthened their determination to fight the turbulent sea and come out of it safely. Right. So first paragraph deals with the reaction of the elderly people, whereas the second paragraph deals with the reaction of the small children. Right. Likewise, how does the story suggest optimism? Suggest the optimism helps to endure the direst stress. This is also important. Okay, this is also Very important, dear students. Okay, this question is very important. How does the story suggest that the optimism helps to endure the direst stress? So as you can see here, the story is the living example. The story is the living example of how optimism helps human beings endure the direst stress. Larry Vigil and Herb Sigler were two crewmen. As the mighty waves smashed the deck, water entered the ship through many holes and openings. Right from the evening of January 2nd, Larry and Herb started pumping out water. They worked continuously, excitedly, and feverishly for 36 hours. It was a result of their continued pumping that they reached the last few centimeters of water on January 4. They remained cheerful and optimistic while facing extremely dangerous situation. Now, the narrator also fought the sea head on and displayed the presence of mind during the crisis. He did not worry about the loss of equipment. He used whatever was available there. His self confidence and practical knowledge helped them to steer out of storm and reach the Isle Amsterdam. Mary stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours. She did not lose hope or courage either. Okay, so dear students, I shall also share with you the concept video that I have made about this lesson. So on your group I shall share it, so you can revise this lesson from the concept video as well. Okay, concept video as well. The extra questions, there is no need to write on your English notebook. You can just read from the website itself. And these long questions, if you think is not required, you can study from the from the website. So you can avoid writing, but at least short questions, question number 1 and 2, question number 3 and 4 you can read from the website, but question number 1 and 2 you read write, as well as this question number 3 you can copy from the you can read on the website. Okay, but one question number 1, all these three questions are two questions are there from question number 1. These two questions you write down on your English notebook, then you write down this question number 1 and question number 2, and rest of the questions you can study from the net, or if required you can write this one also, like we are not afraid to die, who speaks the words and when. You can write down these small questions. How did she make her father laugh when the situation was almost hopeless, right? Then you can also write this question: what did the travelers find at dawn on January 2nd? Okay, so short questions. And this question, right? So question number 1, from extra questions you can write question number 1, question number 2, then you can write question number 4. Okay, question number 4 and 5, right, from extra questions. And from NCERT question you write only question number 1. In question number 1 there are two questions you write down on an English notebook, then you write down question number 2 also. 3 no need to write, okay. And talking about the text, if you think you can study from the net, it's okay. From website you study these long questions, right? Okay, so this is your syllabus. You revise this lesson. I shall take a quiz tomorrow from this lesson. What is this called? We are not afraid to die, and you also update your notebook at the same time, right? And you prepared this lesson. Just read the text once again, and so that we can go with a quiz session tomorrow. Okay, so that's it for the day, dear students. Update your notebook like what that when we conduct the quiz as well as multiple choice questions, you are able to answer